Someone wrongs him, betrays his trust, violates his boundaries, takes advantage of his generosity. Most people's response is immediate and visible. Confrontation, arguments, public exposure, cutting words designed to wound, social campaigns to destroy reputation, active retaliation meant to inflict equivalent pain. They want the person who hurt them to know they've been hurt, want them to see the consequences, want them to feel remorse, or at least fear. The Sigma male's response is different, so different that most people think he's done nothing, think he's let it go, think he's weak or forgiving or indifferent. They're wrong. He hasn't forgiven. He hasn't forgotten. He hasn't moved on. He's just deployed a form of revenge so subtle, so silent, so devastating that the target doesn't realize they've been destroyed until years later when they're alone, diminished, and wondering where everyone went. The revenge isn't an action. It's an absence. The absence of him, his attention, his resources, his energy, his presence, his value. Most people don't understand that for certain individuals, being removed from someone's life is the harshest punishment possible. Not because that someone is exceptional, but because what they brought to the person's life was irreplaceable, and they didn't know it was irreplaceable until it was gone. The Sigma male's silent revenge is withdrawal. Complete, permanent, irreversible withdrawal. No drama, no announcement, no explanation. He just stops. Stops engaging, stops being available, stops offering what he offered. And this stopping, this quiet removal of himself from someone's access, is more destructive than any active revenge because active revenge ends. Absence never ends. Active revenge gives closure. Absence creates permanent wondering. Let me show you how this operates. Someone betrays him. Maybe a friend who violated trust. Maybe a partner who chose deception. Maybe a colleague who exploited his work. His immediate response is nothing visible. He doesn't explode, doesn't accuse, doesn't create confrontation. He just notes, files the betrayal away, completes whatever transaction requires completion, and then he vanishes. Not dramatically, not with pronouncement. He just becomes unavailable. Texts go unanswered. Calls go unreturned. Invitations get declined. Requests get ignored. He's not angry in observable ways. He's just gone. And the person who wronged him initially doesn't notice. They think he's busy. Think he's going through something. Think he'll be back. They don't realize the absence is permanent until months pass and he's still gone. Here's what makes this revenge silent. There's no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. No confrontation giving them chance to defend. No explanation letting them understand what happened. No closure allowing them to move on. They're left with questions. Why did he disappear? What did I do? Can this be fixed? These questions eat at them, especially when they eventually realize what they lost. The Sigma male brought value to their life. Maybe he was the only person who understood them. Maybe he provided resources they depended on. Maybe he offered perspective they needed. Maybe he was the stabilizing force in chaotic life. Whatever he was, he's gone now, and gone permanently. And they can't get him back, because they don't know what they did to lose him. Can't apologize because he won't engage. Can't fix it, because he's not giving them access to try. The genius of this revenge is its deniability. If someone asks him about it, he's not avoiding anyone. He's just busy. He hasn't cut anyone off. He's just not available. He's not holding grudges. He simply has different priorities now. Everything he says is technically true. He is busy. He is unavailable. He does have different priorities. The priorities just no longer include them. And this deniability means he can't be accused of revenge. Can't be called petty or vindictive or immature. He's just living his life. If they're not in it anymore, well, that's not revenge. That's just natural drift. Except it's not natural. It's completely deliberate. He's made calculated decision to remove them from his life. But because the removal is passive rather than active, it appears as though nothing happened. They faded out. Life moved on. No hard feelings. Except there are hard feelings. Just unexpressed ones. And unexpressed feelings maintained over years are more powerful than expressed feelings that get resolved. Let me take you deeper into why this is more devastating than active revenge. Active revenge gives the target something to respond to. Someone spreads rumors about them, they can defend themselves. Someone confronts them publicly, they can counterattack. Someone damages their reputation, they can rebuild it. Active revenge creates drama, but drama has resolution. There are moves and counter moves. There's a game being played. The target has agency. The Sigma male's silent revenge removes their agency entirely. There's nothing to respond to, nothing to defend against, nothing to counter. He's not attacking. He's just absent. And you can't fight absence. Can't defend yourself against someone who's simply not engaging. Can't win a battle that isn't being fought. They're left powerless, confused, wondering. And that wondering, that powerlessness, that confusion, it compounds over time instead of resolving. Here's the mechanism that makes this particularly effective against certain people. Some people derive their sense of importance from access to impressive individuals. They collect relationships with capable people. Use those relationships to feel significant. Borrow credibility from association. The Sigma male was one of their collected relationships. Someone whose capabilities made them feel important, whose association gave them credibility, whose presence in their life was evidence of their own value. When he withdraws, they lose that borrowed significance. And they don't just lose him. They lose the social capital his presence provided, the reflected status, the vicarious competence. They're suddenly less impressive because they're no longer associated with someone impressive. And this loss diminishes them in ways active revenge never could. Active revenge would make them victim. Passive withdrawal makes them irrelevant. And irrelevance is more painful than victimhood. Now let's talk about the long-term compound effect of this revenge. Years pass. The person who wronged him moves through life. They make new friends, form new relationships, build new networks. But something's missing. They can't quite identify what. They remember the Sigma male occasionally. Wonder whatever happened to him. Assume he's off doing whatever he does. They don't realize that what's missing is the function he served, the role he filled, the value he provided. Maybe he was the only person who told them truth. Maybe he was the only one who challenged their thinking. Maybe he was the only one who didn't need anything from them. Whatever it was, no one else in their life provides it. And they don't realize this until much later. Until they're surrounded by yes men and realize they missed the person who said no. Until they're drowning in shallow relationships and remember the person who went deep. Until they need something real and realize everyone around them is performing. That's when the revenge completes. Years after the withdrawal. When they understand what they lost. When they recognize they can't get it back. When they realize the price of their betrayal wasn't immediate pain, but permanent loss of something irreplaceable. Here's what makes this revenge style exclusive to Sigma males. Most people can't execute it, can't maintain the silence, can't resist the urge to confront, can't avoid the dramatic exit. They need the person who wronged them to know they're angry, need to express the hurt, need to make the punishment visible. The Sigma male doesn't need any of that. Doesn't need them to know he's punishing them. Doesn't need to express the hurt. Doesn't need visible punishment. He just needs them gone from his life. And he accomplishes that through withdrawal. The revenge isn't about making them suffer. It's about protecting himself from further interaction with someone who's proven themselves untrustworthy. The suffering is byproduct, not goal. But it's effective byproduct. They suffer from absence more than they would from any action he could take. Let me show you why confrontation would actually be less effective. If he confronted them, explained what they did wrong, expressed his disappointment, they'd have information. Information they could use to defend themselves, apologize, try to fix things, or at minimum understand what happened. That understanding provides closure. Closure allows moving on. By providing no confrontation, no explanation, no clarity, he denies them closure. They're stuck. Can't move on because they don't understand what happened. Can't fix it because they don't know what's broken. Can't apologize because they don't know what they're apologizing for. They're frozen in ambiguity. And ambiguity is torture. The human mind craves resolution, craves understanding, craves closure. He's denied them all three, not through complexity, through silence. And silence is the one thing they can't break through. Here's the social dynamics of this revenge. When he withdraws silently, he controls the narrative. Or rather, there is no narrative. If he'd confronted publicly, there'd be story. He said this. They said that. People take sides. Drama ensues. By withdrawing silently, there's no story. People just notice he's not around anymore. If they ask him, he's vague. Things change. People grow apart. Life happens. If they ask the person he withdrew from, that person can't explain. They don't know why he left. Can't point to specific incident. Can't create narrative where they're victim. All they can say is, he just stopped being around. And that makes them look like they weren't worth being around. Makes them look like they did something, even though they can't say what. The ambiguity makes them look guilty, while making him look like he simply made choice to spend time elsewhere. He gets to maintain dignity, while they're left explaining absence they don't understand. Now, let's examine why this revenge is particularly devastating to narcissistic personalities. Narcissists need attention, need reaction, need to know they've affected you. When you confront them, even in anger, you're giving them attention. You're proving they matter enough to provoke response. The Sigma male's silent withdrawal gives them nothing. No attention, no reaction, no proof they matter. And this lack of response is intolerable to narcissistic mind. They'll try to provoke response, reach out, create situations forcing interaction, spread stories hoping he'll respond to defend himself. The Sigma male remains silent, continues the withdrawal, refuses engagement. This refusal denies them what they need most: proof of their significance, proof they can affect him, proof they exist in his awareness. The silence communicates the most devastating message possible to narcissist. You don't matter enough to respond to. And that message, never spoken, but clearly communicated through sustained absence, is more destructive to narcissistic ego than any confrontation could be. Here's the discipline required to maintain this revenge. People will pressure him to resolve things. Friends will say he should talk it out. Family will encourage forgiveness. Society will frame his silence as immaturity. The Sigma male holds firm, not out of stubbornness, out of self-protection. He knows that engagement, even confrontational engagement, gives the person access. Access to explain, to manipulate, to create doubt about what happened, to turn the situation around. He's not willing to provide that access. Not because he's afraid of confrontation. Because confrontation serves no purpose except giving them opportunity to continue being in his life. And they've lost the privilege of being in his life. The silence isn't punishment he's inflicting. It's boundary he's maintaining. They're outside the boundary. And outside is where they'll stay. Forever. Let me show you what happens to the person experiencing this revenge over extended time. First year, confusion. Where did he go? Why isn't he responding? What happened? Second year, frustration. Why won't he just talk to me? I need closure. This is immature. Third year, acceptance mixed with regret. I guess he's really gone. I wish I knew what I did. Fourth year, understanding. I think I know what I did. I don't think he's coming back. Fifth year, loss. I really miss what he brought to my life. 10th year, recognition. I haven't found anyone else like him. I lost something irreplaceable. 20th year, wisdom. That was one of the most significant relationships in my life, and I destroyed it. The revenge takes decades to fully land. But when it does, it's complete. They understand, too late, what they lost. Understand they can never get it back. Understand the person they are now would value what they had then. But the person they were then didn't value it enough to protect it. And that realization, that clarity arriving decades too late, is more painful than any immediate revenge could be. Here's the moral dimension of this revenge. Is it ethical? Is it just? Is it proportional? The Sigma male doesn't frame it in revenge terms. To him, it's self-protection. Someone proved themselves untrustworthy. The logical response is removing them from positions where trust matters. That removal requires withdrawal. The withdrawal is consequence, not punishment. Natural result of violated trust. If that consequence feels like revenge to them, that's their interpretation. But the intent isn't revenge. The intent is boundary enforcement. They crossed line. The relationship ended. The ending is permanent because trust, once broken with him, isn't rebuilt. Not because he's unforgiving. Because he's learned that people who betray once will betray again if given opportunity. So he doesn't give opportunity. Removes them completely. Permanently. And if that removal causes them pain, well, pain is often how consequences feel. Here's the final truth about this silent revenge. It's not really revenge at all. Revenge implies desire to hurt someone who hurt you, to make them pay, to balance scales. The Sigma male isn't trying to balance scales. He's just protecting himself by removing toxic person from his life. The fact that removal causes them suffering is incidental. He's not monitoring their suffering, not tracking their pain, not measuring whether they've suffered enough. He's moved on, built life without them, found meaning elsewhere. They're not in his thoughts, not in his awareness, not in his life. And that complete removal, that total absence, that absolute indifference to their existence, that's what makes it feel like revenge to them. Because they still care, still want resolution, still want back in. And his complete lack of caring about what they want is the most powerful communication possible. You don't matter anymore. You had access. You lost access. Access isn't being returned. That's the message. Not spoken, just lived. And living it is the revenge. The revenge they'll feel for decades while he's moved on to people who deserve his presence. That's the silent revenge style only Sigma males use. Not active destruction, passive withdrawal, not confrontation, absence, not making them hurt, making them irrelevant, not punishing them with actions, punishing them with indifference, not seeking revenge, just protecting himself in a way that happens to destroy them more effectively than any revenge he could plot. The silence is the weapon. The absence is the assault. The indifference is the victory. And they won't understand any of this until years later, when they're alone, diminished, and finally recognizing what they lost. By then, he's long gone, living well, surrounded by people who earned his presence by not betraying his trust, and living well without them, surrounded by better people, is the only revenge worth having. Because it's not revenge, it's just life. Life they're no longer part of, and never will be again.